Today I'm rating your Minecraft ideas and using mods to see whether they should or should not be added into the game. I've always thought that there should be bogged and stray skeleton horses as well as snowy zombies and stuff. So would more hostile mob variants work in Minecraft? Well, let's take a look. First of all, in the Mountain Mayhem update, we are getting new mob variants. For example, we're getting the Nautilus, but we're also getting the Zombie Nautilus, and then the Zombie Coral Nautilus, and we're also getting the Camel Husk, which is a variant of the Camel. And we're also getting a brand new desert variant of a skeleton known as the Parched. So Minecraft is already going ahead and adding new mob variants into the game, so I definitely think we could see some more in the future. Now, skeleton horses are really cool. However, one limitation that they have is they only come in one variant. You can't get like a bogged variant or a stray variant or the new parched variant, despite them existing as skeleton variants. But then you could argue that's the same for the zombie horse. We don't get like a drowned zombie horse, we don't get a snowy zombie horse, or we don't get a desert zombie horse or anything like that. So I feel like it would be cool to see skeleton horse variants, although it's quite unlikely that we'd see that, and we'd see different mounts instead. For example, we're getting the camel husk for the parched and husk in the desert, and that's the mount for the desert biomes. Now, we don't have a snowy mount yet, but it would be cool to get like some sort of zombie polar bear or something, and then that could have the stray on it. And the next feature, frozen zombies, which the comment actually spoke about, and I've got a couple mods which actually add these zombies into the game. First, we've got the Gelid from the Variants and Ventures mod, and we've also got the frozen zombie from the Zombie Variants mod. And honestly, would frozen zombies be good in Minecraft? Yes, we've already got strays, so we need a snowy variant for the zombie, and both these mods actually add really cool designs. The Gelid's a bit more like a vanilla Minecraft sort of zombie would look like, but this frozen zombie design also just looks really cool. Although, I feel like if we were to get a frozen zombie, this would be the more realistic one, and it would probably have a name like the Gelid or the Ford or something like that, rather than frozen zombie. But both of these would be cool, and in terms of actual abilities, I reckon it would just end up throwing snowballs, right? Like, oh, yep, that guy throws snowballs and freezes me. That's great. I'll hop back into creative mode for now. And I don't think they have any unique drops, either of them. Nope, just some rotten flesh. But yeah, definitely want some more zombie and skeleton variants. Oh, these guys are fighting. Don't know why they're doing that. But yeah, we definitely need some more mob variants for hostile mobs. And I feel like the next one we will get is a frozen zombie. Flowers in the same manner as tropical fish. Random leaves, stem, flower shapes and colours, double tall or not. Bone meal to make more. Flower fields would become ridiculously sought after by landscapers. Now, flowers are one of my favourite blocks within Minecraft, so I definitely think they should get more designs, and luckily I've installed a bunch of mods which add new variants. For example, we've got the mod Wilder Wild, which adds loads of new variants. We've got Tiny Flowers, which is another really cool mod, as well as Biomes Plenty. So these are a couple of the Wilder Wild mods. We've got the Carnation and the Yellow Hibiscus. These are some cool flower variants. Then we've got Tiny Pink Tulips and Tiny Dandelions, which work just like the wildflowers and pink petals. And that is actually so cool. I haven't properly looked through that, so we'll take a look at a few more in a second. Then from Biomes Plenty, we've got Orange Cosmos, the Rose, which I'll also want to talk about in a second, as well as the Burning Blossom. That's cool. Does that set mobs on fire? Okay, yes it does. And then we've also got White Lavender, which also looks really nice. Just taking a look at these tiny flowers, these look so cool. That's a tiny torch flower. I love the design in like the height levels onto that one. We've got tiny poppies, tiny open-eye blossom. That looks so cool. Tiny wither rose, which I assume withers you. Oh, no it doesn't. That's quite surprising. Tiny closed eye blossom, tiny cactus flower. That's cool. Tiny orange tulip, tiny allium. I feel like these would be so good in the game, or just like a similar sort of variant for like pink petals. I think with the wildflower, it was one of my favourite additions this year in Minecraft. I feel like we do need more colour variants, which is why this Tiny Flowers mod is so cool. It just adds so many more. And these would just be so good for building and decoration, and as a comment suggested, like landscaping. Now this comment also suggested random flower variants for the actual just default flowers, so we get different textures, which is where the Flower Clusters resource pack comes in, as it adds loads of different variants to flowers. For example, we've got the orange tulips, as you can see. We get the regular one, but we also get some with 2 flowers, some with 3 flowers, and works with like dandelions as well. These ones look good. Same with cornflowers, as well as for poppy. And honestly, I'd love this in the game. If you've watched any of my videos before, you'll probably know that I always play with a random flower resource pack, normally the ones designed by Fwip. However, I don't think this would come to vanilla Minecraft, as Minecraft tends to stick with the same texture. For example, we don't get variated grass block textures at all. We don't get variated log textures or anything like that. We always stick to one design, which is why I feel like a resource pack or like a mod like this wouldn't actually be added, as Minecraft wouldn't want to take away from the default vanilla look of a dandelion by adding in some with 2, some with 3. However, I'd love it to be a feature, although I just doubt that this would be the way they'd implement it. Most likely, we'd just get new flower variants in the game instead. Now, a rose is a good example of a flower that I think could be added to Minecraft in the future. If you don't know, this actually used to be a flower in Minecraft until it was replaced by a poppy. However, I feel like it should still be added back as it's quite an iconic Minecraft feature. Same way, crying obsidian was actually added back after 10 years, as it was once a removed feature, and it was quite an iconic feature. So I feel like the rose could be added in the future, and I feel like a cool way to get it would be to have a rose bush, and then you share it, and it drops a couple of roses, which you can then obviously decorate with. That way we give an existing block some more unique uses, and we get a brand new flower variant as a result, which just would be so cool. This comment also suggested bone mealing flowers to make more of them, which is a feature I definitely agree with, as we can do it to double tool flowers, as you can see. Click it and we get more. And in Bedrock Edition, you can bone meal a flower and it will spread. For example, I place this red tulip, bone meal it, it will spawn a few more around it. That needs to be added to Java Edition as it's such a good feature and it allows you to get flowers so much easier than finding like a random area where they grow in the overworld and then constantly bone mealing that area. I think that would be a good way to get more variants. I also did just see bone mealing flowers creates these seeding dandelions with a Wilder Wild mod. That's quite cool, but it's sort of irrelevant. So should we get more flower variants in Minecraft? 100%. Just like you should 100% subscribe, as I want to see how many subscribers I can be on by the end of the year. End update. Now, the end update has been a big talking point in the Minecraft community within the past few years, but should we actually get an end update? Well, if I'm honest, I could make an entire video about why there should and shouldn't be an end update, but my answer straight away is, I'm not that bothered. Obviously, it would be cool to get an end update, like we get some new wood variants and new building blocks, but I'm also not that bothered. I don't go to the end that much, and maybe it is because it's unupdated, and it definitely could do with some new features. However, I don't feel like we necessarily need an end update right now. I'd rather see some biome overhauls first. Now, don't get me wrong, if Minecraft was to announce an end update tomorrow, I'd still be very excited. However, I just don't think we'll get one in the near future, and even if we do, it won't be what you expect. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about an end update today, but if you want to know more, I'd recommend checking out this video by Flip, as he created a really good video going through like his ideas for an end update. However, in current Minecraft, the end is known as this sort of barren wasteland dimension, and I feel like it would sort of stick that way. Maybe we'd get a few new biomes with like a new type of tree, maybe like some purple wood or something like that, but it wouldn't be this giant magical overhaul you see in mods such as The Better End. Now, should an end update be added to Minecraft? Eventually, yes. However, I'm not too bothered about it right now, and if it was to be added, I don't think it would be what most people expect. I feel like everyone expects it to be giant biome overhauls with like colourful trees and containing loads of new mobs and weapons and things. Likely, we'd maybe get a couple of biomes, maybe a new structure. All I'd like, honestly, is type of wood and some new enchantments, but an end update would still be cool. It's just not very likely in my opinion. Aether dimension getting added. Now, similar to an end update, I'm not sure if we would get a new dimension anytime soon within Minecraft. And that's because I feel like there are so many features within Minecraft that need updates first. For example, I still think we need loads of biome overhauls. There are so many blocks that I'd love to see added in Minecraft, like colourful leaves and things like that, which haven't been added yet. So I feel like I prefer that to a whole new dimension. Obviously, a new dimension would be cool. Maybe it could have something to do with the Skulk portal, but as a comment suggested, the Aether, I very much doubt we'll actually get the Aether added to Minecraft. Whilst it was a mod developed by current Minecraft developer King B-Dogs, I just don't think we'll get that as an update in Minecraft, as at the end of the day, it is a mod. And whilst certain features from mods have been added in the past, I just don't feel like we'll get the Aether as you expected. Maybe we'll get some sort of dimension in the future. However, I also don't feel like it would be some sort of sky dimension, as the end sort of represents that in a weird way. I know it's sort of like more like space almost, but I feel like the end represents the sky, the nether represents like the underground, and then the overworld just represents like Earth. So I don't feel like we'll get like some sort of sky or heaven dimension in the future. And if I'm honest, I'm really not that bothered about a dimension, because where would it fit into the progression system? As obviously the overworld is a default dimension, then you have to go to the nether to progress in order to then go to the final dimension, the end, which is called the end. So that sort of means it's a final dimension. And we could add some like massive post-game dimension, but I feel like then people wouldn't want to go to it, or people would be less likely to visit it, as you'd have to sort of beat the whole game first and like go to the end, defeat the dragon, get an elytra and all that. I feel like that's a bit unlikely as well. And if I'm honest, I feel like a new dimension is a perfect thing for a mod rather than a vanilla Minecraft update. Make zombie combat more interesting. Stuff like pushing other mobs towards you, flanking, and climbing onto each other. Now, we did touch on this earlier when we were discussing more mob variants, such as the zombies. And I feel like if we did get some more zombie variants, we may get some combat changes to do with the zombies. For example, a frozen zombie which could throw snowballs at you, or something like that. However, like completely different combat overhaul for a zombie, I just don't think it's too likely. We've already got events like the zombie invasion, which is quite a forgotten Minecraft feature if I'm honest. No one seems to remember that's a thing, as it is really rare, but I feel like that could become more common, and that could be the sort of zombie event. Maybe then zombies could spawn with stronger weapons and things, but I don't feel like we should get a whole zombie overhaul. As to be honest, the whole point of a zombie is to be a bit like a player. It attacks in the same way, it can have armor and can have a weapon, and it's not too overpowered. Just like the player in the beginning of Minecraft, I feel like the creeper is a completely different experience. Like imagine you're a player on your first night. A skeleton can shoot you from far away. A skeleton can climb up walls to chase you. A creeper will blow you up. Whereas a zombie's a bit like you. It follows you, it will attack you. And that's about it. The zombie doesn't have any like special abilities where it runs really fast. I feel like the default zombie should stay the same, as it is sort of a counterpart to the Minecraft player. However, I am quite a big fan of the climbing on top of each other idea. And this is actually a feature on Minecraft Bedrock Edition. If we take a look at the wiki, obviously we're all used to the chicken jockey. However, on Bedrock Edition, you can get an adult zombie jockey, where a baby zombie jumps on top of an adult zombie. Same way it works on a husk, but then the baby zombie can also ride on things like a zombified piglin, a pig, a cow, a mushroom, a sheep, a wolf, an ocelot, a stray cat, a horse, a panda, and a baby zombie on a spider. I feel like this should be added to Minecraft Java Edition. Obviously it's already in Bedrock Edition, but I'd like a feature like this where the baby zombie can ride more mobs to make it a bit more dangerous. I mean, it already is quite dangerous, but making it ride other mobs like an adult zombie would be quite cool. Making it ride something like a cat which can run really fast would be cool. And we're also sort of getting at, I guess, with the Mountain Mayhem update, where zombies can spawn on horses, as well as husks can spawn on the camel husk, which I believe baby husks will also be able to spawn, which is quite cool. So should we get an update to zombies? In a way, yes. A complete combat overhaul I'm not a fan of. However, I think certain updates which already exist in Bedrock Edition should be added, as well as what I covered earlier on in the video, more variants. Now, do we need variants for every type of biome? No, we don't need like mushroom zombies, although these guys look so cool, I would like them. However, obviously the mushroom island doesn't spawn hostile mobs. We don't need things like a pale garden zombie or anything like that. All we really need now is a frozen zombie, and I'd also like some sort of poisonous zombie for the jungle or for the swamps. In the same way, we've now got the bogged. There should be variants of the passive mobs like hogs for pigs and bulls for cow. Now, we already have this in Minecraft. Obviously, we've got the default temperate cows, but then we've also got the cold cows as well as the warm cows, which are sort of like bulls in a way with their giant horns. Then obviously we've got the default pig, and then we've also got the cold and warm pigs. So we've already got mob variants of passive mobs. However, I still do think it would be cool to get some more in the future, and actually in my previous video I did talk about loads of new mob variants I'd like to see in the game. So now that we have variants such as the warm cow, I don't think we actually need to see bulls in the game, and we also don't really need to see like hogs or boars in the game now that we've got pig variants. But what features would you like to see added to Minecraft? Let me know in the comments, as I might rate them in the next video. If you enjoyed today's video though, make sure to subscribe.